Dark Satellite Media.
Not authorized documentaries. I'm on like crime and stuff, and they all actually some of them have some cool old footage, but they need a full like now that Eddie's passed away, it's time to make like a final doc. You know, the story's been written, it's over. Make a biopic too. I'll take that.
Like The Dirt.
I can't recommend the Ian Christie book though. I
love that. You didn't like it?
I loved it. I can't recommend it.
Eddie
Highland.
Oh,
amazing.
Yeah.
Is that the one Running with the Devil? Is that the one?
Is that the name? I feel like it was. I know Ian Christie wrote it, and I know it was good.
Everybody Wants Some? Is that what it was?
I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yes, that other one you mentioned, I think, is their road manager wrote it, right? Or something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
I think with the devil.
I think my buddy Darby read that one, so it was pretty good. But Everybody Wants Some. The Ian Christie one is awesome.
Sean, Sam, you read all those, right?
I just can't read. I told you, that's the problem. But yeah, so we started recording Welcome to Red River Podcast. This will be a Van Halen special due to the fact that obviously Eddie passed away, and I figured between him and MF Doom, these are two people that I think would be kind of fucked up if we didn't do an episode specifically celebrating their catalog. So this will be the Van Halen one, and I'll do the Doom one some other time. But man, so welcome back, Joe from Outburst in the house.
Hello.
Yo.
Glad to be here.
And then we have Brant from. So basically, tell me what you do in Chicago. You have like a brewery, or you work there?
Yeah. So we have a restaurant group. So we have 3 breweries currently, and I'm the director of brewing operations for the breweries. I started out as the head brewer with the company, and now basically I oversee all the breweries and the brewers that work at each brewery.
So when you make like a Van Halen flavor,
we have one.
Oh, what? All right.
At Corridor Brewery, we have a beer called Van Hazen.
Okay.
It's inspired by it's a hazy IPA, which is one of the hot beers in the craft beer world currently. And so I wanted to do one named Van Hazen, and we toyed with the idea. We don't really can; we're more of a restaurant. So, but we do can some stuff. So I did want to do cans with Eddie's guitar as the inspiration. Just the black and white and red stripes all over the can. But we felt like with Eddie's alcoholism and Van Halen, we would get a cease and desist pretty quickly. So
only one way to find out.
Do it, yeah.
Would you say the beer is like biting and exciting, like a David Lee Roth era, or like flat and uninspired
David Lee Roth
later era?
A lot of tropical fruit, a lot of
I'm kidding.
Oh, I was gonna say, because if we're gonna talk about flat, it's definitely DLR. I mean, I'm not exactly sure. But so you guys are all huge Van Halen fans. Me personally, I'm a casual fan, so I took myself out of it. I'm just gonna host it. We're waiting for our buddy Lord Goat, aka Gore-Tex, aka whatever the fuck, from the group Nonfiction. I don't know. He's, if you guys know him or not.
2020 album of the year.
Yeah, for sure.
I gotta say, for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Final Expenses. He put out a record.
Yeah, dude. It's so good, bro.
So let's start we're going to start off with 5 honorable mentions, and then we're going to do 10 of our favorite Van Halen songs through the whole catalog. So, obviously, they have a huge catalog with David Lee Roth, some with Sammy Hagar, and then there's one that they did again with David Lee Roth, which I didn't even remember, and then Gary Cherone. But so we're gonna start off with Joe from Outburst. And
do we have to, for the full disclosure of the audience, list why you were qualified to be on this podcast?
Yes, absolutely. I was gonna say, absolutely. State
your credentials.
Yeah, for each of us.
Before, what you named your daughter? What?
I named my daughter Halen.
Yeah, man, that's some severe stuff right there. So tell us.
And she does get confused a lot with every single teacher she's had so far. There's at least one every year who's like, Helen. They call her Helen or, Haleen.
Yeah.
And so her stock answer is just like, no, as in the band Van Halen, or I'm named after Eddie Van Halen. And then there've been a handful of teachers who just totally dug that, right? Probably in our age group or a little bit higher or lower, that who understand that reference. But really, I'm just a big fan of the band and of Eddie, really, since I was probably in 6th grade. And I think I was running with the devil that I heard on the radio back when there was only like 2 FM radio stations that would play that kind of stuff. And I'm like, who is this? What song is this? And then, when you're a little kid, you're like, the devil. Now I was a Catholic school kid. So I'm like, well, this is a little bit risky. Like I pictured somebody running with the devil, like not Roth, but whoever was singing the song before I even knew who Roth was. I was like, that's pretty cool. And then I picked up the tape and the rest was history, That's, I've stayed with them pretty much until the very end. I was glad that Dave came back. That was a nice way to cap, the end of the story with some pretty bad chapters in between, that we talk about today, like the Gary Cherone. But for full disclosure for everybody who's listening, I think I'm the only one in this chat room or this podcast that is equal parts Sammy and Dave. I can't say one bad thing about the other.
Me, I'm with you.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I am.
I'm a Hagar fan too.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, good. I'm glad. The way I thought it was going to be is like, because I know Brian's not.
Neither is Gore.
Yeah. So okay, there's a little mixture there, but those are my qualifications. I'm just a big super fan. Who you would have thought that would try to be in like a metal band when I was growing up, but hardcore and punk were the things on my block, so I went the other way. But I always listened to Van Halen the whole way through, so that's
yeah. Cool. So give us your 5 honorable mentions before we do our 10.
Oh, okay. 15 to 11. So number 15 is Blood and Fire from the last album, A Different Kind of Truth. It is based off of a song called Ripley, which I think Eddie was writing and demoed it between when Roth left and Hagar came on board, but then they recorded it in full with Roth on Different Kind of Truth. It's got that feel of like, the end of Dave, the beginning of Sammy. It's somewhere in between. This is what Eddie wanted to write. 14 would be Humans Being from the Twister soundtrack. That's a Sammy track. 13 would be Somebody Get Me a Doctor, which Van Halen 2 is, obviously a great album, but that's the one I find myself listening to a lot lately because it's just he's playing and Dave's howling. Number 12 is Judgment Day from the album F.U.C.K.
Yeah.
Sammy tune, great song. Yeah. And then number 11 is a song called Me Wise Magic. It was from their ill-fated best of in 1996, which was, they were booting Sammy out and getting Dave in behind his back, and they recorded these 2 songs. One was called Can't Get This Stuff No More, and Me Wise Magic was the second one, which is just amazing. I mean, if you listen to Eddie's playing, and then Roth is just whooping it up like it was just old times again. It's good stuff. So that's my honorable mention.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you mentioned Humans Being. Definitely. I think they had more than one on the Twister soundtrack, if I remember.
There was a song called Respect the Wind, which was just the Van Halen brothers.
Okay.
Doing like instrumental.
All right.
But yeah, I try to get a
Respect
little nice blend.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Bill Paxton, man. We love that guy.
All right. Peace, Bill Paxton.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Mitch, are you there?
Yeah, some technical difficulties.
Okay, so
I'm getting it.
All right, cool. So then I'm gonna go to Brant real quick. So Brant, give us your qualifications, like just basically what Van Halen means to you, and then give us your 5 honorables.
Yeah, man. Van Halen was definitely from '84 to Appetite for Destruction. Pretty much, Van Halen ruled my world. They were the only band that mattered. Started in, I'd say, late '82, maybe early '83, sitting in my cousin's room. My cousin, I always was a little bit older than me, and he lived in Dix Hills, so he lived 5 minutes from the Walt Whitman Mall. He had blacklight posters
Yeah.
and a dairy barn that we could walk to around the corner. And me growing up in the sticks in the East End of Long Island, I thought like up Western Long Island was the coolest shit in the world. And, sitting in
Riverhead was Western Long Island to us.
Yeah. And he put on a tape called Fair Warning, and as soon as the first notes of Mean Street hit, I was hooked. And from there, it's actually the 37th anniversary this weekend of me getting 1984 in my Easter basket.
Wow. Oh, wow, that's so cool.
With the Footloose soundtrack and the Ghostbusters video game.
Nice. For what system?
For the computer, Atari 800 XL.
Oh, yeah, the 800. All right.
Yeah.
The Easter basket was lit.
Yeah, in the Easter basket. So that was a pretty good Easter.
Yeah.
And then 1984 just was, for that 2-year span, that's all I listened to was that album. And went back and delved into some of the other stuff. I mean, we in 5th grade in Mrs. Nicole's class, Diver Down and Diary of a Madman were pretty much on constant repeat at lunch. So I went back and bought Diver Down on vinyl. That or Metal Health were probably my first actual record purchases with my own money.
Yeah.
And then from there, I like Sammy. 5150 was still, I think, a classic album and one of the greatest albums ever. And like I said, until Appetite came out and just rocked my world and changed my entire universe, 5150 was, and Raising Hell by Run DMC are all I listened to from 1986 to late 87, early 88.
Did you ever perm your hair or get like baggy pants?
I did not. I was pretty straight laced in the old high school, so I had short hair. And
just making sure. So give us your 5 honorable mentions of Van Halen.
Sure. Here we go. 15 to 11. So at 15, got AFU Naturally Wired off of OU 812. I think it's my favorite track off of OU 812, and it's Sammy ripping and Eddie ripping and just like the band, like, I don't know, reliving the glory days of Dave. It sounds like the closest to a Dave song almost that Sammy did. Number 4 off of 1984, I've got Girl Gone Bad, which 1984, like I said, ruled my world. And I think it's a really underrated hidden gem off of that album. Number 3, listened to on my Walkman approximately 400 trillion times, Summer Nights off of 5150. Number 2, Best of Both Worlds off of 5150 also. Live Without a Net, the concert film. Seeing this video on MTV made me go out and spend $99.95 to buy Live Without a Net.
Wow.
I didn't have cable as a kid, so I didn't get MTV, and I saw the Best of Both Worlds video.
You didn't have cable, but you were rich, obviously.
Yeah, well, I was a dishwasher back then, man.
Had a lot of dishes back then.
And then I don't know why this didn't make the top 10, but it didn't make the top 10 probably just because I've heard it 400 trillion times. I'm going Unchained off of Fair Warning.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yo, thank you for that 5 right there. Then we're going to go down to fucking Lord Goat, a.k.a. Mitch. This has to be like the 7th podcast I've done with him, the 4th for Red River. So anytime we need some metal talk, we hit up the homie. So, yo, give me your actually tell me your introduction to Van Halen, and then we'll do the honorable mentions.
Well, I had a list of like all my favorites, and mysteriously it disappeared. It's very bizarre. My first introduction to Van Halen is basically my cousin Todd. You know, I lived in Long Beach on Long Island. He lived in East Setauket. He was a big fan. He had posters and just all the records is obviously, you know, David era. And he was just a freak. And I was a little younger. And I sort of knew about him, but I didn't know that much. You know, he had all the magazines, you know, Hit Parader and Circus Cream, and just a lot of stuff. So I started asking him questions about it. He just kind of gave me the first album on cassette. And I mean, it just pretty much crippled me from the beginning, you know. Number one, Van Halen 2. And just from there, you know, I mean, I would say Todd was, you know, he was probably pretty psychotic about it. Yeah, that was pretty much my first introduction. I just kind of took it from there.
Cool. All right. So I know that you lost your list, but give us some like honorable mentions. Yeah. Give us if you remember any of them.
From the first two albums, you know, On Fire. I mean, you know, DOA. Probably going backwards, but I'd say Light Up the Sky is probably my all-time favorite song, you know. Every album, there's great stuff on it. It's really hard to, you know, it's like I made a list. Everything for me up until, you know, 1984, you know.
Where do you put Pound Cake on your list?
It's good. It's a good one. That's a good one.
What is Pound Cake about?
Oh, we spoke about it earlier, but you know, obviously, everybody knows what it's about. But you know, Sammy did an interview in I forgot what magazine it was. It might have been like Art Shop Europe or something. He said specifically it was about vulva, which I think was pretty heavy, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it was about his girls, like, you know, like at the time they had all these extravagant roadies and like all these girls, and what he liked was his wife's vulva was the pound cake,
right?
Nice, simple, wrapped up nice and tight, clean.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah.
I'm an American way, you know.
Yeah.
Actually, I cut my wedding cake to pound cake, by the way.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. Seriously,
that's amazing.
And you guys are flexing your Van Halen like no other right here. So that brings us to Langan. Langan, just give us like your introduction to Van Halen, and then give us your 5.
Yeah, I've probably mentioned it, but like Bram mentioned, Mrs. Nicole, she's a legend out in the East End. She got me into Van Halen from a Dive It Down copy on record that we listened to at snack time in 5th grade. I was so all about it. Like I remember having I had parachute pants, and I took like David Lee Roth in the Jump video. I took streamers, cut them up. My mom helped me. I put streamers all attached to my parachute pants to make that like ruffled thing, and wore it to school, you know, in 5th grade.
Pants are classic, dude. Those were real heavy back then, man.
I had the streamers, and my brother got me Fair Warning for Christmas that year, and it was all set in motion from then. I wanted to play guitar. Eddie, I love Dave's rap. I was sold. But it was all from Mrs. Nicole. Just proof that a teacher can totally change your world, because Van Halen became my everything. It's the gateway to all the musics that I like. It all started there. My DNA is red and white, spandex. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome.
It's a combination.
And I mentioned Mrs. Nicole also, and just to let you know that Langan was a year behind me, so it was 2 years of Diver Down with Mrs. Nicole, which is pretty.
Yeah, she was like this young, California-looking blonde, like probably my first crush too. Like, and realizing it later, like she was just the coolest, man. You know, like.
So you really were hot for teacher back then.
You were.
Yo, for real. That song, and when that song was out, that's probably when I had the realization. And I'm so bad with dates too. 1984 came out when I was in 5th grade. So when people ask me about it, like a year or something, I do the math like backwards, like, and I could tell how old I was in like 1980 from when that album came out, because I knew in 5th grade it was 1984 because that album came out. And then from there, or I count from there, you know, it all about Van Halen.
Well, shout out to her and everyone that you got pregnant in the 5th grade due to the parachute pants.
People, panties were dropping,
Yeah.
It was dripping in there.
Give me your 5 honorable mentions.
My 5 honorable mentions. I'm gonna go Atomic Punk. Incredible Eddie heavy riff. Van Halen jumps around so many times, but that's more of like a metal Van Halen. Hear About It Later from Fair Warning. Such a different song where the first 3 of the tracks of that album come out, and it's such a laid back cut, but just such a great groove, slowed down, great tone on that. It's a cover, but it's important to me. Where Have All the Good Times Gone, the lead off from Diver Down, which obviously is probably the weakest Roth album. A lot of covers. This is a Kinks cover, but when I hear the opening chords, it takes me back to that record in 5th grade, and it's like it's chicken soup for me. You know what I'm saying? And we'll go with the next one, DOA from Van Halen 2, simple groove, but just dirty and great. And almost was on my top 10, but it's got to cut off somewhere. But Light Up the Sky, like Goat mentioned, just an amazing rocker. Again, another heavy Van Halen track, wicked solo on that. And,
yeah, it was one of Eddie's favorite tracks too. And they asked him, and said "Light Up the Sky" was like one of his favorites. Period.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
While we're speaking about Light Up the Sky, because both Mitch and Langan mentioned it, so I'm a drummer, and to this day, like you can put it on right now, and I will just try to tap Alex's break. That is a wicked break.
Yeah.
After Eddie's solo, and everything stops, and the other Van Halen gets his time, and for like 20 seconds, and he's such an offbeat right there. He's killing it right there.
Absolutely.
And then the overdub of the second, like the other toms is just amazing. And then it goes right back into the chorus. Just an amazing part of that song,
Well,
yeah.
Go ahead, Goat.
No, I was going to say that I think at the time, like Eddie might have said that he wished that Alex had more time on the first 2 albums, where it's a lot of the albums obviously take up Eddie and Eddie's atmosphere. He thought it would be cool because he felt that Alex was pretty underrated. So he liked Alex to get some playtime, even if it was like small increments, like small breaks. He was still kind of like championing that, So whenever Alex play, so parts like that, like the break in that song would definitely pretty fresh. I think in general, Alex is pretty underrated. I mean, it's tough, if your brother's Eddie.
I know. Right.
I mean, you can be Billy Cobham. You can be like the most psychotic drummer, and it's still going to be, So that was probably a little tough for him because he's not really talked about or really regarded in any circles. And if you look at the magazines from those years, he won a couple of polls, but not really, kind of like what he should have. He was definitely overshadowed. So
I agree.
I do miss those polls. Remember like those Hit Parader polls? It was always it was always like best metal female. It was like every year it was Lita Ford or Dora or one of the girls from like Vixen. Every year it just rotated. But man,
no love for Leather Leone.
Yeah.
But man. So like that's kind of like the Clint Howard to Ron Howard thing because I love Clint Howard and Ice Cream Man and a lot of the movies like The Wraith. But all right, so now we're gonna do 10 favorite songs. I know it's very hard because you guys are big fans of it. Mitch, obviously, you said you forgot your list, so when I throw it to you, just pick a random song and spit on it. So Joe, I'm gonna go to you first. Give me your number 10 favorite Van Halen song.
Number 10 is a track off of Balance, the last full Van Hagar record. It's called Take Me Back, Deja Vu. And it is it's got an acoustic beginning. And then it just is like a mellow, like if I had to think about it, it'd be kind of a Zeppelin-y feel. Like I think Eddie was channeling a little Jimmy Page mellow, like Over the Hills and Far Away with the feel on that. And then it's just about going back to a time when everything was simple. And I liked it so much that I got married in 2000, and the videographer for our wedding was asking for some songs to like use as a bed for like some of the footage they would take. And I picked Take Me Back, Deja Vu, to be one of the songs. So whenever we go back and watch the wedding tape, that made it onto the highlights, of us walking around that day. But Balance is a great album. It's pretty underrated, and it was also kind of dark and angry because they were already like at each other's throats. I think Eddie wanted Sammy like gone towards the end of that album, but they still did like a tour. But it was a little darker. They have songs like "Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do" and like "Amsterdam," which is like, from where FUC came from, it was a little bit like more darker, more browner, and a little angrier. But that's my number 10 song for
Cool.
All top 10 Van Halen songs.
Sounds good. We'll probably make a playlist to this episode, and I'll pick some random stuff, and I'll throw some from everyone's list. So we're gonna throw it to Brant. Yeah, give me your number 10 favorite Van Halen song.
Number 10, following up Lang, and I'm going with "Light Up the Sky" off 2. It's just so freaking rocking and just in your face the entire time until that little breakdown at the end, and it just I don't know, it just makes me want to like kick someone in the face every time I hear it.
Like Gary Sharon?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Always.
It just Van Halen 2 was always like I don't know, like the album I listened to least when I was a kid. But I went back and discovered it. I went back and discovered it after they released the remasters around like 2000, I think, on CD. And I went back and bought all of them, and it shot up to my number 3 favorite Van Halen album.
It's a great album.
And
Light Up.
I think "Light Up the Sky" is my favorite song off that album.
Mitch, give us a song. Just pick anything that you like and wax poetic about it, like a rapper.
Just like I don't know, off the top, I'd say maybe "I'll Wait."
Okay.
It's not even the most popular song from that record, but I think it's just a greatly written song. It just sounds great, and it's kind of a sleeper. It almost sounds like it's almost like an older band like Argent, or like just one of those bands. You're almost like a humble pie chorus, but there's something about that song. To me, it's real heavy. Even like the bass line that goes kind of like with the keyboards and stuff. I've always liked that song. I mean, it got a lot of play on radio, so it's easy for, it got commercial and stuff. But yeah, I think "I'll Wait" is good. Also, maybe "Secrets." That's cool.
We'll save that one. We're gonna go. I want you to do one at a time.
Yeah, no doubt.
So Langan, give me your number 10.
This is probably coming higher with some other people, and it's only because this is such a hard list to make. But my number 10 is "Half a Teacher." Could have been higher. I played it a lot, obviously. So sometimes when I revisit this stuff, or I get a fresh ear for a deep cut, that might rank higher. But I mean, when it came out, though, I mean, what a video! That video was so great. I had it. I remember having MTV up at my uncle's house in Poughkeepsie. That's where we first saw it, and they would play Van Halen videos all the time. But it's such a great video, and again, like we were talking about Alex really gets to shine in that intro. That intro is, it's one of those rare drum passages that if somebody just started playing it without the accompanying other instruments, it's fucking Half a Teacher.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it's signature.
It's
and
definitely
it shreds, and it's fun.
Vinny from Pantera kind of was so influenced by that little piece,
Yeah.
It's like his whole sound. Yeah, it's
off of that. Yeah, for sure.
A lot of teachers were influenced in the last 10 years to fuck their students because of it.
And I think it was, shout out to Miss Sexed. I think it was in a video. She was.
Yeah, shout out. She's doing some movies with Tony Martino, I think now. So that brings us to number 9. So Joe, give me your number 9 favorite Van Halen song.
Number 9 is a song called "Romeo Delight" off of "Women and Children First," and I know it's not one of the more, off of that record. Everybody, they know "Everybody Wants Some" and "The Cradle Will Rock," but "Romeo Delight," they opened up the US Festival with that song. And if anyone's seen the video of the first number, they break, and then Roth's doing his little, routine and stuff. And then he just stops. Band keeps playing. He goes, "I forgot the fucking words." And that was just like so raw. You know what I mean? It was like,
they were wrecked on.
Yeah, they really were. And, there's so many cool, like, "I Know the Law," "Friends." He's just such a badass in that song, like, and then the solo to this fever pitch, and then they slow it down with like a little hi-hat action from Alex. and then Ross just like, you could tell he's got his eyes closed and he's like doing like a scat man, like feel my heart beat. What a change from the rest of that song. And then they build it up back into like, into the way it ends. It's just an amazing song, which doesn't get a lot of shine when you go track by track. But for me, that's probably my favorite song off of that record.
Well, it does now. Now that you picked it, I feel like a lot of people, with our wide audience are going to be very
Smash
excited.
Play on Spotify right now.
That's it.
Which I got the Spotify up, and I just got to say, it's a Van Roth era picture.
Okay. Good.
Choice.
So that brings us number 9 for Brant. Give me your number 9. Oh, actually, I also want to say a lot of times I go back and I watch those old Us festivals on YouTube. They're so much fucking fun to watch, man.
Oh yeah,
for sure. So, Brant.
Number 9, I've got Mean Street off of Fair Warning. My introduction to Van Halen. As soon as those first chords hit, it just hooked me from day one and just didn't let me go for close to 5 or 6 years. Just a badass track. David Lee Roth being badass. Fair Warning's like their dark album or whatever you want. That they sort of weren't a party band anymore on that album. They sort of became like, I don't know. I don't want to say Sabbathy, but it's definitely got like more of that like darker feel to it than past Van Halen albums. And I don't know. I'm 12, 13 years old sitting on the floor of my cousin's bedroom, and dark shit is awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Better than going to church on Sunday. So.
It still is.
While we're on Fair Warning for a second, like, does anybody here, or maybe it's just me, but visually, like, the album cover is like this brown montage of like some kid getting punched in the face, some guy like hitting his head against the wall, but it's like brown. So like I remember Eddie said he coined like the brown sound for his guitar, and Lang, your guitarist, you may remember his quote. Whenever I listen to Fair Warning all the way through, it's just brown in my mind's eye.
No, I agree with that. It's
right.
It's a texture. I don't know what the atmosphere is, but even it's just, I get like disjointed, strange pictures, especially some of the tracks, the little experimental tracks. It's just a little weird in a good way, but it's definitely that brown sound. It's a brown album.
It is a brown album, totally brown album.
Yep.
Other albums are different palettes. There's different, for some reason.
It's their most diverse record, sound-wise. They weren't a party band really on that one,
Yeah.
Something else. There was always a rumor. I think Eddie was going to use those tracks as a solo record originally, something like that. I'd always heard that. And then a Halen record, but.
So yeah, Mitch, give me your number. Give me any song.
I really like Beautiful Girls. I think that's a good one. I think just for the atmosphere of it, it's just super. It's just awesome. The chorus is super catchy. It's not overly heavy. It's just atmospherically nice. It's just like super bright. That song's not brown. You know what I mean? That's song. Yeah, it's super colorful.
Are you saying brown is not beautiful?
Not at all. The opposite. But from a guitar point, that song is definitely colorful, definitely different palettes and stuff.
Cool.
It's such an 80s fun kind of song. It's what YNT tried to recapture at Summertime Girls, but they couldn't get it.
Shout out to Dave Manichetti.
I think Beautiful Girls was also in an episode of Miami Vice. One of the guys was actually listening to that in the episode.
Yo, we were talking about how many guest appearances like there were on Miami Vice. We got to do
a garbage dump, dude.
Yeah, garbage dump. We got to do like a deep dive on those fucking ones.
Iggy Pop.
Yeah, shout out to Don Johnson, because I don't think I wore socks for the first 13 years of my life. So,
Beautiful Girls, wasn't it also used in an SNL skit called Schlitz Gay?
Yeah.
I remember that skit. Oh, I didn't. Yeah.
Like it was a riff loosely based on it, right? It wasn't the actual tune kind of a thing.
I want
the real tune.
The way I remembered it was the actual guitar intro, the song. Maybe they got like cease and desist from the band or something, but
probably.
I remember watching it in the 90s, and there's like Farley and
Yeah, and
And
Adam
Sandler.
Sandler. Yeah.
He flicks the glasses up.
And he fixed it. Yeah, he's like,
I remember.
Langan, give me your number 9.
In a Simple Rhyme from Women and Children First. I think it's one of the like everybody plays so loose on it. Everybody, and actually talking about getting shine, like someone who never gets shine, Michael Anthony. He plays like I think it might be his best played bass track in Van Halen history. I mean, when he started, he's the greatest background singer in history, and I'm not talking about like the girls that sang on "Gimme Shelter" by the Stones. I'm talking about in the band that could hold it down song after song. His background vocal was as important to their sound as Eddie's tone or anything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's he smokes it on that. Eddie kills it. They play with time signatures a little bit on that. It goes from part to part, which they're not normally that kind of band. I think it's just a different standout kind of track for them.
Yeah, it's like 4 different songs.
Yeah, 100%.
It's funny that you mentioned the background singers, because I was thinking, like, when you said best background singer, I'm thinking like, yeah, I'm like, Rolling Stones always have like 4 like really
not
good...
like the hired gun.
Yeah. No, he's
a guy you got in your camp.
Yes, I was talking to Gore earlier about just how amazing he is, and really like those early Van Halen songs. Without Michael Anthony, like it's just I couldn't even imagine what the band would sound like. He's just his bass playing needed to be steady, which it was, and whenever he needed to go beyond that, he did. But he was in the pocket, and his backup vocals were fucking like amazing.
They're amazing, and his bass playing, like he didn't need to be that guy.
He didn't need it.
I love Eat 'Em and Smile and that Roth era. I always said that was the 7th Van Halen record, but Sheenan and Vi playing together sometimes is like, whoa, all right.
Yeah.
People need all of that.
Yeah.
So he played his position like perfectly. He didn't need to be that guy.
I think if anything, I felt bad for Mike sometimes because, like I was telling Sam before, I mean, there was some pretty nasty interviews that Eddie gave where he was pretty much rapping on Michael for no reason. I want to say around the time of Diver Down, they did an interview with Eddie, and they asked him about Michael Anthony, and he was just like, Michael doesn't do shit. Like he doesn't really do anything. And
Eddie said he played the bass parts on the record.
He played the bass parts. He said Mike has a nice house and the car to show for it, based on our back, which I thought was a pretty nasty thing to say. And then you forward to like 99 or something, also shitting on Michael, saying his background vocals weren't that important to the music, and he had trouble even tuning his bass, which I thought was a weird comment.
Yeah, it's a crying shame the way he went out. It's really
maybe he was just real fucked up at that time and saying mean shit. But like I got to tell you too, like just the other night on YouTube, I had seen some chicken foot video, like from a few years ago, and they were covering Highway Star by Deep Purple, and that dude was still hitting all the Ian Gillan notes, like in octaves. You can't even believe it. His age, he still got it.
Yeah.
And the Jack Daniels bass is the most iconic bass of all time.
And
absolutely. But is there anything worse than a Michael Anthony bass solo?
I was just about to say.
Yeah.
That's
the worst solo.
I mean, listen, when I was 11, I hated Michael Anthony for a minute, just because he wasn't Steve Harris to me,
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And then I kind of realized a few years later on, I really appreciated how much he held it down. And if you listen to the first 2 records, he gets a real nasty tone. There's something really brutal. And I think he's tuned down just like half a step, but there's something real brutal about what he does, which I've grown to appreciate later. But, I used to hate the guy when I'd see him in Circus, even though I liked Van Halen. I just didn't, maybe it's something aesthetically or something with the Jack Daniels bass and the solo or something. It wasn't working for me, even though I later appreciated like everything he did, It was, the solo thing was weird to me.
Most importantly, I can't think of anyone who's had the same haircut for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
Never, that's what it is. And what it was is just always
he kept it steady.
Yeah.
Just to go back to Langen's point about how Michael Anthony's wailing at the beginning of or during In a Simple Rhyme. you could tell that's him playing because there's also killer bass line, and I don't know if anyone's going to mention this in their next 8 selections, but Fair Warning has a song called Push Comes to Shove. And the bass on that, you can just tell that's not Michael Anthony, that's Eddie playing bass on that. And it's like probably the most amazing bass of any Van Halen song. But it's not, it's Eddie. Like you said earlier, Eddie would come in and record. I know that's not Michael Anthony for some reason.
Wow. I had no idea. That's
it's a
crazy.
sick bass line. Yeah.
Yeah, heavy.
Did you say something?
No, I was saying it was a heavy bass line.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's kick number 8, Joe.
Number 8 is off of 5150, and it's a song called Dreams. I remember Eddie saying, and I think it was an MTV, one of their interviews with him, that one of the songs that they had worked on before Roth was on his like little break in the Amazon jungle, but he never came back to work on it. So they tried writing, finishing it out, and then brought it to Sammy, and he wanted Sammy to hit some notes, and then he went higher, and that really pleased Eddie. It's like, do you remember that interview?
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
Yeah, and so it was like a different kind of song. Like they were already deep into keyboards from '84, but this was a different kind of song where it was like upbeat, and it wasn't wimpy. It had an aggressive beat, and just the singing, Sammy singing it, in that song where he's like just higher and higher is where he's going, and really positive message. And that whole album, the whole 5150 album, I think
maybe it was a dig at Roth because he was hitting higher notes.
Right, he couldn't. I know Eddie took shots at Roth after he left, but that's probably because he's bitter.
That's when I got real upset when they were really trashing on
both of those guys.
Dave. That's when I was like, "Yo,
those guys were on their best behavior."
Both of those guys, what?
Yeah, for sure. No, I was going to say both of those guys. If you notice, like when they both did solo stuff. Well, when Dave went solo, like his first solo album, he was singing a lot more on that.
He was, yeah.
You can tell he put his best foot forward. And I think same thing with 5150. I'm not a specialist on that record. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've never listened to the whole thing straightforward. I should, but I do like a few songs on that record. I think I do need to actually listen to that now fully, because I think there's things I definitely might have stopped on. You know what I mean?
I went back to it and re-listened like with a little bit of a more mature ear, and like got over like my young angst and stuff, and
yeah.
And obviously, like Dreams, amazing solo on that, and there's some tracks on there. I mean, I don't want to go overboard. Like 5150, there's some stuff on there that I love Eddie's playing. It was just different for me then. I couldn't process that my guy was gone. You know what I mean? I was a young poet.
As an outsider, that song in particular, like from a songwriting aspect, I think it's fantastic. It's just a great, obviously it's so different from where they were, but it's two different bands. But that song, Dreams in particular, from a songwriting, it was great songwriting. Just I love that keyboard. I love that chorus. So,
the hot joint.
Brant, number 8.
Number 8, I've got Everybody's Heard It a Million Times. It never gets old to me. Every time it's on the radio or I hear it or I see the video, it stays on. It's Panama from 1984.
Russia.
Song made me want to move to California. It just like the video, actually, I should say, made me want to.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was Panama in California?
Is it a car? Is it a girl? Is it weed that he's singing about? Nobody ever really knows. And Eddie's Lamborghini makes an appearance in it, which is the way Sammy got into the band when the Lamborghini mechanic recommended Sammy to Eddie.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know. I mean, I know it's probably one of the more overplayed Van Halen songs, but it's just got a dear place in my heart.
That song's a total crusher, dude.
Yeah,
it might be high on my list, but yeah, it's a total crusher.
There's also a cameo in the video. If anybody paid attention back then, during the slow part, they zoom the front row of the concert that they're playing. There's a guy with a Raven T-shirt.
Nice.
Going like this. You're doing the metal fingers.
I usually catch garbage like that. That's a good one.
I know, yeah. Me too. Yeah, I don't know.
I usually torture him about stuff like that.
I remember seeing Raven in Port Jeff. So shout out to them. They opened up for Udo.
Oh,
The one guy have his like goalie mascot. What did that one guy wear? He wore like different sports
Hockey mask,
athletes. Right?
Yeah, the Wacko, the drummer, right? He
Yeah.
came dressed as a hockey player.
Wacko.
I don't even remember. I remember
Good
that
gimmick.
by the time Udo hit the stage, it was like literally 1:30 in the morning, and there was like 10 of us there, and you would
Udo
have thought,
making him wait.
yeah. He came out. He was like, "It's great to be back in the States again," and we're thinking like, "But you're in like Port Jeff."
Did he have the camouflage on?
wow.
He came out with sunglasses. I don't remember what, but it was
Some of them don't know like what town they're in when they hit Long Island. Because I saw a creator and in at the what was that spot? The downtown in
Yeah.
Farmingdale.
Oh yeah.
And
I heard-
they overdid it. Like, because normally you'd be like, "Oh, New York, whatever." They were like, "Farmingdale, are you ready to rock Farmingdale?" They were specifically shouting at Farmingdale.
Great
And it
though.
was kind of weird.
Listen, that place at least had a capacity of like the Donkey probably had like 500 maybe. This place that I went to was maybe like 50. Like it was just
Wow.
it was brutal, but
Like, just play balls to the wall so I can go home.
Okay, so number 8, Mitch, give me something.
I'd say Loss of Control.
Okay.
It's
Mm.
it's not commercial. It's just killer riffs. Everything about it is killer, and it's best to play it super loud. That's probably one of the tracks I always go to. It's just always there,
Cool.
Loss of Control.
I remember I grew up on the same block as AJ from Leeway, and we would spend our days and nights listening to the radio in Astoria Park. And Loss of Control came on one time on somebody's mixtape, and I don't think AJ was that familiar with Van Halen, but the beginning of Loss of Control, he said, and I remember him saying, "Is like this is like hardcore. This is like you could do a mosh pit right here. That's like just that minor chord, like half steps, and then Alex is just doing like this really heavy beat, and that's the intro because it gets like a lot faster and speedier after that. But that's what I remember about Lost Control. That's a great tune.
Yeah, I love that. Cool story. I like the little bits that you remember because every time you mention a song, like we all attach it to something, like this little thing. So, Langan, give me your number 8.
My number 8 is "And the Cradle Will Rock," the lead-off track from Women and Children First. Just a great youth and revolt, great to be young kind of song. Have you seen Junior's Grades? The little raw things that he puts in there, and more down tempo, not but just a great rocker. Love it.
Yeah, I love that song. I love that song.
That was actually the first use of keyboards, right? Because there's piano in that break. Right?
Mm.
Eddie's playing the Walter
That's true.
At the end of his solo. Yeah, he's like noodling on the piano to give it the soft landing before they start in again.
Mm.
So anybody who said when they heard
never
Jump,
thought of that.
Yeah, when they said, "Oh, Jump," they've gone keyboard. They had keyboards in Women and Children
They
First.
had it on Fair Warning too, right?
Yeah, right. The Moog synthesizer.
Sunday Afternoon in the Park. How did they make that?
Right.
Yeah,
He wrote that song, and like he wrote Jump in '81 anyway.
Who did?
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, Eddie wrote Jump in like.
Oh yeah. The keyboard part, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way it is. Like, like for anyone that writes songs, like sometimes you have this idea and then like it's like this thing that you love, but you never wrote that chorus to it or you never wrote that melody to it. And like 3 years later, you're like, I think I'm going to use this fucking part. So
it was really Dave. It was really Dave that was really adamant against using it, obviously, because, the keyboard thing. And he would just kind of break Eddie's balls and say, listen, you're a guitar god. Nobody really wants to see you play keyboards. Eddie was like, why not? Dave, this doesn't work for me. And that just created so much tension that look how long it took for Jump to be used. It got to the point where Eddie had to open up his own 5150 studio. And then he was like, okay, well, I'm just going to do everything myself. I don't have to wait for anybody. If you don't like keyboards, tough shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the way to do it for sure. So number 7, Joe, give me your number 7 Van Halen song.
It is a song called "Feel Your Love Tonight" from Van Halen 1, self-titled debut. I mean, all the legends on that album, and literally you could say that Van Halen 1 from front to back. There's no weak tracks, but "Feel Your Love Tonight" is sort of like that would make me want to move to California too. It's like I just got off work. They're having a blast. he even tells you how to teach to read time a different way. Like it's 10 of 9. Like who says that? Right. And then there's an acapella break in that song.
Yeah.
Which, there was also one and I'm the one, but when everything stops after Eddie's solo and they just do, I Can't Wait to Feel Your Love Tonight, like 8 times, each one coming in with a different layer until it's like all full. And then Eddie starts playing.
Dude, that's crack. Yeah.
It's so good. And, it's just one of those feel good songs. And I mean, Van Halen has a bunch of feel good songs, but to me, that's the one that stands out for me. Is like, it gave me the image of Southern California. Like I could picture listening to that song in a convertible, riding down, Hollywood Boulevard. That's just the image it conveyed to me when I was,
teasing your hair out, heading over to the cat house.
Right.
Did Outburst ever play out there?
No, never got to California.
Never got to California.
But I was the only one in my band who liked Van Halen anyway, so nobody would have been entertaining me anyhow on that. That was an idea.
Yeah, we need to rent a convertible with our with our tour bus money. So Brant, you mentioned you were a dishwasher and listening to you saying you wanted to move to California. I can't get the vision of Poison, Nothing But a Good Time out of my head. That's what I think of. But give me your
stared up at this Van Halen poster on the wall.
For sure.
Get out of here.
Number 7 is Run with the Devil for me off of 1. I still find it amazing to this day that the first introduction to Van Halen is a bass line, not Eddie's guitar. And I just love that opening horn into the boom, boom, boom. And then, I know it's been made fun of to death on the Stern Show and everything, is the isolated Dave tracks. The one thing about those isolated tracks is he's always on key. Even all those yowls, he's always on key. Everyone said he's a shitty singer and just a front man, but man, he freaking nails that song. And it just, what an introduction to one of the greatest bands ever in the history of the world.
Yeah, it's a great song. We covered that for like 10 seconds. Like I did 2 lines and I was like, I'm good. But it was fun. Like my band started playing it. We were out somewhere and I was like, all right, cool. I know the first 2 lines. And then I'm like, I can't even that high. Like it was still kind of high for me to sing. I don't know. So shout out to David Lee Roth for making me feel like shit. Mitch, give me something else.
I'd say probably Women in Love. Just kind of, it's pretty much like what he was talking about a second ago. Just the atmosphere I thought was like super California. It also kind of reminded me, like I said before, like I guess my cousin Todd was pretty fanatical about, early Van Halen. So a lot of the stuff, a lot of the gimmicks they were doing, especially Dave, I kind of picked up on from this guy who would, he'd play these bootleg records he had, which were like, to me, super expensive. If, they were like $25 and I would just look at the cover and it would say, Van Halen live in Reno, January 79. And so, with these solos and stuff. So he had this record and just, I guess they did a version of Women in Love that was just pretty psychotic, and then you find out it's about lesbians. So it's, it's pretty, that was a big deal back then. There really wasn't many songs that just kind of, you pointed to it and it was like, okay, that's what that's about, So I don't know.
Yeah,
that's the garbage I picked up on, at least back then.
They were the prototype for woke bands, I'm pretty sure. Definitely. So, shout out to them. Super California, super. I mean, the thing about Van Halen is if you were young and, let's say you hadn't gotten laid yet, it was sort of like a doorway into that. It was like a door to sex where it was like, Panama and all this stuff. It's like, it was just super sexual, which I think completely went limp when Sammy joined. It was a completely different thing. And that's great. What Sammy did is great, but it's the complete, it's like asexual for me. Like, he wanted to make love to you. Roth wanted to fuck you.
You know what? I don't even think it was a make love thing. It wasn't like sexual. It wasn't, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's weird to me, but the Dave stuff in particular, those songs, it was like, I can't imagine what the atmosphere was like. I mean, how do you're going around that scene, everybody's ripped out on blow. you're hanging out at the strip, you're doing all this crap. So it's really interesting to just go into the studio and then like write about your experiences,
Yes.
So to have songs like that, which seem pretty firsthand, because I think Dave doesn't get his props. I mean, he gets his props, but he wrote those songs. Like Eddie wrote the music, but he was kind of like, here, take a palette and just kind of, what do you feel? So for him to just write what he feels lyrically off of those riffs, I thought was amazing, particularly a lot of those songs on the first two records.
For sure. We're all going to get into a hot tub after this and put it back to like 1983, see what happens.
I think if we're comparing like Van Halen music to porn, like, yeah, I think Dave was like Bukkake, like Evil Angel. Yeah, he was like Jules Jordan would do you.
Right.
And then Sammy was kind of like, you're more like hardcore, like
he was like Vivid,
like softcore.
Yeah, Vivid, right? Vivid.
He was Vivid.
Cinemax.
Tastefully done. Yeah.
Okay, so I get it. So Buttman versus the Hirsch crew. Shout out to Jules Jordan. Langan, give me your number 7.
My number 7, Bram mentioned already, was Panama. Same reasons he said. That riff is just amazing. It was one of my favorite riffs to play over and over for like hours in the mirror as a young man. And I love the breakdown and just talking about Dave and like some of the sexual innuendos and the stuff he'd get away with. Like only he could do it like that. He had this like 1 foot in like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, vaudeville, but also the bridge to like all that 80s hair stuff that we nostalgically love too. Like he had, he set the template. He set the blueprint for that formula of the front man in the 80s, of like those Vince Neils and whatnot. That's all Roth, And that little breakdown in Panama is a perfect like representation of his shtick.
I thought that breakdown was pretty psychedelic, actually.
And Eddie's playing on that breakdown is fantastic too.
Shout out to Mike Tramp, who I think is David Lee Roth's son.
Yeah.
And Brada is Eddie Van Halen's son.
And Vito's, yeah. What did it say? Spaghetti Van Halen or something?
Vito Van Pizza? Or
That's what it That's what it was.
Oh, shout out to Bullet Boys for like
Bullet Boys.
Completely.
Yeah,
Smooth up Peña.
Yeah. Too. Ted Templeman produced all their shit.
Well, conveniently, of course he did.
Yeah.
Give me your number 6, Joe.
Shout out to Mark with a Q.
Mark with a Q. Yeah. He's like, fuck the K. I'm like a singer, so give me a Q.
Did you ever hear that guy tell the story about him? He goes around telling everybody that he was supposed to have the Randy Rhoads job.
Yes. I heard it on a podcast.
I still can't wrap my head around that being a real story.
I don't think anybody believes that.
Stop. That guy he didn't even play in the Bullet Boys. He's going to take that gig? Yeah. Get out of here.
I believe more Mark Ferrari had that job.
He might be QAnon, actually, Mark with a Q.
He's a Q.
Joe, give me your number 6.
Number 6? Oh, okay. Number 6 is off of OU812, and it's called When It's Love. It is the second of Eddie's keyboard power ballads. The first being Love Walks In off of 5150. But this one had a little more like, like a more like, for me, a feel of like it's real. Like Sammy was saying about aliens, and Love Walks In, but When It's Love is like, it's like the age-old question, like, how do I know? I don't know. When you know. It's sort of like You Can't Hurry Love from like Diana Ross and the Supremes. Like you just know it, you'll feel it, and when you do, it'll last forever. Like that to me was like, like talking about the Bukkake versus the hardcore porn. That was like the softcore, like tastefully done. Like if you Google like, romantic sex, this is what would come up in a Van Halen song.
Yeah. This was no penetration.
Yeah, and actually, I think if my memory serves, it got to. Oh, it was, but you wouldn't see it. Like it's off camera.
Yeah. Listen, great song. Absolutely. Very. You're talking like me. I as a songwriter, I love stuff like that. But I look at it from like a different perspective. I'm not like, I'm not so married to the first half, so
Yeah.
I'm looking at it like objectively. So Brant, give me your number 6.
My number 6 is going back to Mrs. McColl's Snack Time, Little Guitars off of Diver Down. I love the intro to it right up through the whole thing. The intro reminds me of almost, I don't know, like a flamenco eruption almost. And I don't know. I know Cabo Wabo and everything with Sammy, but I think Dave was singing about Mexico first, going back to Little Guitar. So I guess Sammy's biting on Dave a little bit even then. Just brings me back to 5th grade and good memories and good times and simpler times, I guess. And
let me just jump in too, because I had it exactly at 6 too, so you can find me later.
Yeah.
Same reasons you said, Brant. Like just beautiful touch to the way Eddie plays that lick. Just it's got to be like finger picking or whatnot, but the tone, it's just a sweet song, nice song.
Yeah.
Cool. All right,
a 5th grade song.
So then that brings us to Mitch. Give me something good.
I'd probably go with Cathedral. I think it's kind of slept on, and I think Eddie's just fantastic in that. It's just ballistic. It's just one of those songs that I think that album, it kind of gets bagged on just because there's so many covers and it's short, but there's really good stuff on that. I think it's overlooked. Alex's playing is also good, maybe not as energetic as it was on the earlier albums, but I think that album gets slept on. You know what I mean? Some of the covers are kind of annoying to me, but there's great stuff on that, stuff like Secrets and Full Bug, and so I go with Cathedral probably.
Hang 'em High.
Yeah.
All right, so we're at the halfway mark here. We are pouring a lot of love into this episode, a lot of nerdism, a lot of geekism. So thank you again, everyone, for hanging out on a Saturday. So, Joe, give me your number 5.
Before I do, I just want to go back to what Mitch was saying about Diver Down. I just think that it preceded 84, and it was sandwiched in between 84 and Fair Warning. So it kind of like really had no identity if you look back retrospectively.
Right. Yeah.
But it did have some bangers on it. And it had Big Bad Bill of Sweet William Now, which they got a chance to play with their father on that song.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty like sentimental because he got them into music by bringing them to this country from Indonesia or from the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Shout out
nice.
to Stan Van Halen.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, wait, Indonesia?
Oh, because his mother is Indonesian.
I didn't know that. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shout out to all the Dutch Indonesians.
Yeah. That population.
We got a big following in that community. So.
Yeah, they're big on the YouTube.
Number 5 for me is Mean Street, the leadoff track from Fair Warning. I think Brant had used this earlier. Just that harmonic intro, which is like, I don't know if anyone's ever done that before. Like he was just noodling around, and I want to say he's never, of all the live performances I've seen Eddie try that again in, he's never actually been able to nail it the same way he did in the studio. And I don't know, it's just a neurotic thing with me, but I listen for it, and he comes close a bunch of times, but I'd never heard anything like that. And that's just a ripping song. Like the break where Roth again slows down and talks about you want to be the hunter or the hunted, gonna hunt somebody down. Like there's a groove to it, and Eddie's riffing on that is just ridiculous. His rhythm playing on that, it really shows off his rhythm playing, right? The bed underneath like the chorus, and we just a harbinger of things to come on that album, because like I think Brant mentioned before, the first 3 songs are like, or there was Langan said it, they're just this one groove, and then they slow it down with Hear About It Later. But Mean Street started off that groove. Like it's just a wicked song. So that's my number 5.
Killer. Brant, number 5.
Number 5, Sammy makes it into my top 10 with 5150 off of 5150.
Oh, it's a title track. Okay.
The most underrated track on that album. I think Sammy's singing on it is unbelievable, especially during the chorus. He just sounds like he knows what he's in for, and that he's got a capture some new fans, and people are going to hate him for taking over for David Lee Roth, and he just nails the shit out of the song. And it's a love letter to Eddie's studio. And I mean, everybody knows this by now, but 5150 is the code for escaped mental patients. So I always thought that was cool. And my favorite track off of the 5150 album, which is my second favorite Van Halen album, maybe even number one. And I don't know. Sammy just brought it on that album. And
Great solo too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially in the Live Without a Net, Eddie crushes that solo in particular.
Yeah,
5150, trivia question. That's what the police were called when he rolled up on Fred Durst's house. Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it's a way underrated album. I think OU812 is a good album. I like the other Sammy stuff, but those first two albums I just think are amazing.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, I like that record a lot. And in retrospect, it's actually better than for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, but I'll get into that later on. So, Mitch, give me something.
I'll probably go with "I'm the One" from Van Halen one. Probably go with that. I think it's killer. Probably one of the more slept on tracks. People usually go with stuff like "Ain't Talking About Love" or "Jamie's Crying," which could have been that one either. But yeah, "I'm the One" is definitely super hyper. It's just like total party song. You know what I mean? Great solo, killer everything.
I think the whole song is a guitar solo, isn't it?
Yeah.
The whole song is a guitar solo.
Yeah. I'm probably actually thinking of "Jamie's Crying" actually right now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good one too.
Basically, the whole thing is killer. That album itself. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like I would listen to the album from beginning to end. So like some of the songs are always just like half confusing. Like "Diver Down," there's guitar parts, and there's stuff that's like not guitar. You know what I mean? So like, some of the titles just get confusing just the way I listen to it.
Yeah. Langan, give me your number 5, right? Is that where we are?
Yes, my number 5 is "Ain't Talking About Love." And what can you say about that riff and really hard and dark lyrics for Roth at that time? Not very playful on that one, but I mean, it's an eternal riff. It's a legendary riff, and it's one of the most covered songs. It's and again, just like you were saying about the Van Halen one, top to bottom. For me, in their catalog, Van Halen 1 and "Fair Warning" are flawless to me. Like I could play them through. Those are my heavy hitters with their whole catalog. And I mean, you just talk about. I can't even imagine being an 18-year-old at the time when that VH1 came out, and they were just light years ahead of, like, as far as tightness of anybody else I could think of, like at that era. Like they were from another world, and great songwriting, but just incredible virtuosity and execution in them. That's why when they got the tour with like Black Sabbath, a band that was like waning at that point, nobody wanted Van Halen
78. Yep.
No one wanted to follow Van Halen at their prime.
Would you say, Mitch?
I was saying that Sabbath were getting blown away.
Yeah. They were a hard act to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really was rare that you put those two acts together. I mean, Sabbath was kind of on their way out. And Van Halen just off the first tour, kind of like they hungry, super hungry. And Ozzy said it at the time. I mean, it's rare you would have a singer just basically in the middle of a tour admit that the opening band is just killing them every night. He was like, "We're getting killed," which was funny to me to read. It's like, wow, he just kind of,
Yeah, that's awesome. Everyone remembers that "Never Say Die" tour. Cool. So number 4, Joe.
I like "Never Say Die." It's a good Sabbath song.
That's a great song.
Good song.
For sure. Yeah.
Bad album. It's a good song.
My number 4 is "Top of the World." The last.
I love that song.
The last track on FUCK. Yeah. It's a pop song. Eddie was writing. He actually used outro riff on Jump to formulate Top of the World riff. It's the same riff if you can hear it one after the other. And there's a nice break where they go from the verse into the chorus where, Eddie and Alex and Michael are all playing this like chord progression, and it goes right into like they land on I think it's a C chord, and it goes to a different part of the song, but it's just a feel good tune to me. And I remember MTV had like 2 videos for it. And at the time when they came out, I was like, well, give me 3 or 4 videos. I love this band, so it's a good representation of happier Sammy 91, 92 times. And Eddie's not really playing he's not really doing like Fingers of Five stuff. It's just very tasteful melody in his solo, which is kind of unusual for him because usually he's like riffing or something. But it was a good pick me up.
That is, I was going to say that is probably the best song on that record, and it's the closer. And his playing on that, like you said, tasteful. Like you hear it, it's so fucking melodic. Like Eddie's playing on that song, like every note is like fucking sugar, like completely. Yeah. And it's definitely a pop song, but my favorite, it was. We're gonna laugh because every time I talk about, like how Hot in the Shade was my first Kiss record, and for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge was my first Van Halen record. I was like 12 or 13, and I was like, "Oh, this is great! This guy's using a drill on Pound Cake." But
I like some cuts on that record. I guess I'm a Roth guy, obviously, but like I thought that was the first album that Eddie had a little teeth in it, because definitely the production changed when they went out of the Roth era, and I thought like it was a little toothless. But Pound, I love the riff on Pound Cake, and there's another song that I didn't realize I liked when I was re-listening to all this stuff, because I never played those albums in forever since they first came out and heard them, and I was like, it's not for me. But Runaround, is that on that record?
Yeah.
That's a great song too.
Great song.
Sammy's doing a little bit of David shtick in there when they break it down and stuff, but I thought that FUCK record had some balls.
Yeah, for sure.
Tone. Yeah.
I think that was a Templeton record. So number 4, Brant.
Number 4, I've got Romeo Delight off of Women and Children First. I think Kerry King said it was the last truly great Van Halen rock song. So if it's endorsed by Kerry King, it's okay with me. It's just that frantic pace throughout is just awesome. And then when that breakdown right before Roth sings "Take Your Whiskey Home" is just amazing. And I love it.
Cool. Yeah. Number 4. So Mitch, give me something else.
I'll probably go with Out of Love again. It's just something about it. Pretty wacky. The sort of like half chorus and just Eddie's guitar work in that, his little nuances and stuff is pretty brutal, man. It's probably, I think, one of the most brutal tracks. Again, the production on the whole album is great. But I think in particular that song is perfect.
Cool.
You can't really get better than that.
Speaking of like Alex getting his shine earlier, well, if you listen to the drum bed under Eddie's solo in Out of Love again, he is keeping some weird time signature. Alex is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to this day, if I'm playing it on my steering wheel or something, I still can never get it right. He's just doing whatever he wants.
It does some weird stuff, like with the kick sometimes, the rolls.
Yeah. Very off time, off beat,
Yeah.
Stuff.
Unusual stuff for sure.
Langan, number 4.
My number 4 mentioned before, but is Unchained off of Fair Warning. What can I say? That riff is just monstrous.
Pure metal.
Just amazing, perfect, and again, I love Ross shtick in it. One break coming up, that whole thing. It's vintage Roth, it's vintage Eddie. It's Fair Warning's my favorite Van Halen record of all time, and Unchained, that's my boy.
Yes, I once did half an 8-ball to that song. By the time it was over, which is like 3.5 minutes, and I thought I was gonna have a heart attack. So
I was at the 2002 dysfunctional family picnic in Jones Beach, and it was like
20. When was that?
2002.
Okay.
And it was like still in the afternoon, and it was kind of, I think it was in like maybe late August. It was getting cold.
How is corn? Crush it.
I was bored, and corn was great. That was, yeah. Do you remember that? Corn actually headlined.
I remember. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
But Hoobastank actually was like 4 p.m, and I was like, man, these guys, like, after the one song that everybody knows,
The Reason,
like, yeah, I was like, this is pretty brutal. And then they launched into a song, and they in the break of their song, I forget which one it was, the guy from Hoobastank did, the Roth part in Unchained. He's like, hey, you guys are gonna get some leg tonight for sure. And so I went from like sitting, like leaning on my elbow to like, what is he doing? What is that?
Yeah.
I thought that's what I remember about, like, Hoobastank ripped out Unchained in 2002 at Jones Beach Dysfunctional Family Picnic.
That guy definitely read the crowd and was like, we need to throw in some Van Halen immediately. We're losing everyone here. Sometimes you see a band and they play their one hit in the beginning and at the end. I love that. That
was awesome. Yeah.
You got to sit on that hit.
Yeah.
You got to wait.
Shout out to Hoobastank though. Number
first
3.
Hoobastank reference, I think, on the show since we started it.
Ever?
Yeah.
Happy to,
I think
happy
so.
to bring it.
Shout out to you, man.
Only took 78 episodes.
Definitely not.
Number 3.
We had number 3. Okay. I think Brant mentioned this, but it's my number 3. Little Guitars by Van Halen. And I'm just going to tell you a quick story on why this got so high on my list. Off of, like, I think Lange says the weakest Roth album. Yes, of course. But it's got some good ones. And Little Guitars is my favorite song off of Diver Down. I was in the 7th grade, I think it was. And I just remember, like, passing time by, like, humming your songs. And I was humming Little Guitars and playing it on my desk or whatever. And there was this girl that I realized I might start to like, sitting, like, in the next row. So, like, I would assimilate her with, like, Senorita in that song.
Yeah.
So, when you realize you like somebody, you're like, I don't know what's happening. I think I like this person.
Yeah.
And it, like, did the fusion meld with Little Guitars for me.
Yeah. You had a moment. Yeah.
I did have a moment. So the rest of that year, I would associate Little Guitars and the Senorita part, and, like, I'm in love with you, and hey, catch as catch with me.
Right.
All with this girl. And shout out to Patrice Schnurr, wherever you are, from St. Mary's Blessed Virgin Christians in Woodside, Queens.
God bless you.
Made a man out of me.
Yeah, you were my first Van Halen crush. So thank you for that.
That's heavy. That's heavy right there. Brant, give me your number 3.
Number 3, I think I was down the list on Langens. I've got Hot for Teacher. The video is my second favorite video of all time. So that had a lot to do with it.
His first Sabotage?
No, my first is actually I Stay Away by Alice in Chains.
Oh, okay.
I love that video. I don't know. I love
Took a wild guess.
Dark video. Sabotage is up there. But I just love it. I don't know. I'm not a musician. I'm just a music lover. I guess I'll ask the drummers in the group. Is this the, except for maybe Overkill, the first incorporation of a blast beat in a song? The opening to Hot for Teacher? Or am I way off base with that?
Well, he had, before I got my kit, I started playing drums like after 84 came out. But when I started to, like, realize, like, sounds and production and everything, it does kind of sound like that. But he's got overdubs, like,
Yeah.
When he tried to do it live, he couldn't actually get it, like, on the record, because there's, like, he's doing the rolls to lay down the bass, and then Alex uses some kind of overdubs for some extra toms, so it's almost like cheating on the record, But it sounds amazing, though. I mean, that's a great intro.
And just also it gets in there just because the I don't feel tardy line from the freaking greatest. I still laugh every single time it freaking says it.
Shout out to Waldo, and thanks for creating Facebook.
And I don't know if that video would make it in the world today. I don't know. It barely probably made it in 84 or 85 whenever it was released. But
I still say sit down, Waldo. Anytime I have to tell, like, my son or something to sit down, like, I have to follow Waldo.
Sit down, Waldo.
What's great? What's great is if you look on YouTube, they have I guess it's like extra footage of Hot for Teacher, and it's just like Dave driving around in the car. It's like nonsense. It's excellent.
With Alex, right? I think.
Yeah, him and Alex. Yeah. It's like 14 minutes. It shows him getting arrested and stuff, and it's just Dave just like being Dave. It's like to me, they should have released Hot for Teacher, but like an accompaniment, like a 15-minute video, like the making of it, just that included, just like driving around. I mean,
I'll go a step further. I would have liked to seen like Roger Corman do like a Rock and Roll High School thing, but based around the Hot for Teacher video.
That's dark.
That's really dark.
He would have done that. He would have done that. But back then, that was the beauty of like having VHS, right? So like you could get that. Like you can get like the one video, and then you'd have like 4 different versions of it. You'd have like that long fucking like 10-minute version with all the fucking movie clips.
You could have an version, stuff that you couldn't show in the video. Yeah. Those gimmicks.
For $99.95.
Yeah.
Right?
Why would have that? Still have? Anybody wants? For $98.95.
Is that out on DVD?
I don't know.
That thing? Did they ever re-release that? I don't think so. The Blu-ray treatment?
Yeah.
Just VHS.
What about Hearing Aid with that? They had that 59-minute version.
I
had it, bro. I had it. Played it all the time.
Hearing Aid was like I went to Sam Goody the day it came out. I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, did I really stand online? And like, hey, I'm not kidding. I bought Hearing Aid the day it came out, excited about it. And I bought the VHS video, which a quick story, I bought the videotape. I was collecting VHS, which they were expensive to me. Whatever. I had 2 kids that I knew. They were older dudes, like metal dudes. They came in my house one day when I went to the store, and they robbed all of my VHS.
Oh, damn.
And Hearing Aid was like that. It was like the brand, like it was brand new. I watched it twice.
Wow.
So,
oof.
That's my Hearing Aid story. Pretty pathetic, I know.
Well, listen.
Sam had a great post about the Hearing Aid. We clowned on Jeff Tate's hair, and how many singers and people there were there from a court order. That was their charity work, like satisfied their charity.
More treatment, yeah.
They were like, you need to do some sort of benefit, and like Ronnie
just do that song for the African kids, and we'll probably tell the judge it'll be fine.
Oh, dude, Vince Neil was miserable that day.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I like how everyone did like a syllable, like like that was the editing. It's like, all right, there's like 400 of there's like 400 of the most attention-starved people sitting in a room trying to get any part of the song.
And even had the Spinal Tap guys.
Yeah.
In character. Yeah.
I think we got to do a deep dive on Hearing Aid now. I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Might have to come back for that.
I'm there.
Dude. One last thing about Hearing Aid. What was Vivian Campbell? Vivian Campbell made a great comment. At the end of all that, he's like, he was asked about it a couple of years later. He's like, yeah, I wonder where all that money went, because I don't think it went where it was supposed to go.
I believe it.
Him and Dio had some beef. Yeah,
I believe it. So number 2?
3. I didn't do 3 yet.
Oh, go ahead.
Where are we at?
I don't know. I'm lost, but
where are we at?
I don't think Mitch did 3 yet. Mitch didn't do 3.
Mitch, give me a song.
I'd probably go with Unchained. I mean, it's been all over everybody's list, but Unchained is just, everybody said it before, but I think besides that, it's the epitome of metal. But at the time, like early 80s, like 81, but I think it's also like proto speed metal. That riff, there's something very speed metal about it. And I think with certain riffs, it's just sort of how you do the picking. But it's like once you do that kind of picking, you're in speed metal territory,
The down picking. Yeah.
And I think a few of their songs had that kind of thing, it's just a classic. It's just all around perfect.
To quote Mitch, that's a devastating song. I completely agree. Yeah, you know how many times we played that?
The muting is sludgy and it's down tuned. So it's definitely the heaviest song. If you put it on 11 or 12 and just blast it, it's gonna blow all your shit out. Yeah,
we how many times we quote that? What Q-tip? This is devastating. That's from the old episode. But all right, so number 3, Langan.
A little bit of a deep cut from 1984 album Drop Dead Legs.
Great one.
Obviously not one of the bigger hits, but Man, that riff is so tasty, and the way Eddie plays it so loosely, and the feel on it, and in particular how it opens up at the end and just lets him go off in this way, like a jazz musician might be able to just, or a band. I'm a band of Meshuggah, Frederick Thornton Hall plays like really, just not particularly in key, but just going off. That's how Eddie approaches the end of it. But it's a fun song, but what a beautiful riff.
Awesome.
Drop Dead Legs.
I want to say it was Drop Dead Legs was used in Family Guy for
really?
you know how, I think you know how McFarlane does all those like non sequiturs, and they're talking about the 80s, and somehow Drop Dead Legs made it in there. If you want to YouTube that,
really,
so show your appreciation.
I thought I was the only one that liked that song. That's good to hear.
Oh no, it's a great song.
Almost made mine.
You and McFarland. All right, so here we are. Last two songs. Joe, give me number 2.
Number 2 is Right Now, off of the FUCK album.
So good.
I am a piano player before I was a drummer.
And a great one. You're hit the clips that Joe posts.
Ridiculous.
Yo, let me tell you something about Joe real quick. This motherfucker, we were talking about the breakdown and the solo to One by Metallica. This dude sent me like 10, 15-second clips of him playing the solo on a piano of the song One. And I was just like, this outrageous. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, so thank you. But I'm a failed piano player, I should say, because that's how I wound up being a drummer in the end. But when Right Now came out, and, of course they had keyboards since Women and Children First and pianos and stuff, but this wasn't a ballad. This was it was a piano, not keyboard, no synthesizer, straight up piano. And it's a rock song. It's like, Alex is like keeping some really heavy time along with the syncopation, of the song. And then Sammy is just writing singing some Carpe Diem lyrics about, catch your magic moment. I know it got used in a Crystal Pepsi ad, and they got clowned for it, which was,
Crystal
Pepsi.
That shit was nasty.
That's a throwback right there. Wow.
Yeah. And I think SNL did a playoff on Crystal Gravy using the same Van Halen song.
Yeah. Well, that video was monster too. A lot of people parodied that video too, like with this. Not the band. I think the band was in it for like one shot, maybe, and then it was just like statements coming out.
It was words, yeah.
It was Then in the time of the music video, like as a vehicle, they made you read, right? You had to read the video, right, which is unprecedented.
Yeah.
It
won many a VMA.
Yeah, and also it's a piano song, yes, but that's one of my favorite Eddie solos, because it's just so tasteful underneath the piano bed that he lays down, and it ends with some really sick high bends and everything, and then they all come back into the chorus, Right Now, and like I said, if you read the video, there's some really good subliminal statements in there, like how right now time is getting shorter, your memory's getting
You're right.
There's heavy stuff right now. Someone's working too hard for minimum wage, things like that.
Yes.
Just stuff that made you think, rather than watch the usual mindless video of somebody aping along to their track. It was a kind of thought inspiring, So that all combined made it to be my favorite Sammy song. So spoiler alert, I'm ending with a Dave song as number 1, but that's my favorite Sammy Hagar Van Halen song right now.
Cool. Number 2, Brant.
Number 2, off Women and Children First, in a Simple Rhyme. I think it was on Langen's, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think it's Dave's best vocal performance. I think it's really strong, and I really dig Michael Anthony's backing vocals on this track. I think I don't want to compare it to the Beach Boys or the Beatles, but the harmonies between him and Dave I think it's just the best vocal performance on a Van Halen song ever.
It's just as good as either of those bands. Yep.
Yeah, and then that outro, that like dinosaur stomp outro to end like the last 20 seconds or 30 seconds is just I don't know, Eddie just wailing, and I don't know, it's my favorite, obviously my favorite track off of Women and Children First, and it's just, I don't know, just a killer way to end an album.
Love it. All right, awesome. Mitch, we got 2 left, so give me the 2 that come to mind the most. Give me the 2, and then we'll do 1 later.
I'd say probably a fair warning. I'd probably go with Mean Street. It's been on the list before. Uh, something about it, I think it's got a little bit of everything. It's super funky. It has these parts that they haven't really played on other songs too much, these certain grooves they catch. Besides that, just the lyrics are dark. There's a real like street element to it. You know, it's just, you can't really put your finger on it. It's just wild. You know, it's like adventurous in like this dark way where I feel like a lot of the other stuff didn't really go. It has like a weird color, even though we said before it's like sort of from a brown album. There's a little tint to that song of, you know, I don't know. It's strange, but definitely one of my favorites.
Cool. Did Nonfiction ever open up for Van Halen?
I mean, I have to say we didn't, but we did go to we were at somebody's party. I don't remember who. Probably embarrassed to say that dude Scott from Party of Five. I don't.
Oh, Scott Wolf. I think no,
yeah.
Scott. Yeah, I know they do. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever his name is. We were just, you know, and I think Sayback brought us over there. You know.
Yeah, Sayback.
And he had this. He had like this. He had like a terrace, like people just hanging out, and it's like in the hills. And you know, I guess I was smoking and shit. I had like a blunt. I just kind of, it fell out of my hand or whatever. And he was like, "Be careful, Eddie Van Halen's house is down there." You know?
Oh man.
I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Yeah, dude, it's that whole like enclave of property was like his, you know." And
wow.
And the best part is when that dude came around, like I said one word to him. I wasn't talking to the guy, you know. But when he came in, I think to the kitchen area, I was like, "Yo, dude, this is far out, but is Eddie's house down there?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, man, that's like his house down there." I'm like, "Are you serious?" He was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Actually, last week, like last Sunday morning or something, he went out and like you could hear Eddie, you could hear him playing from in there, like the canyon. It's pretty fucked up, you know."
Wow, that's
yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome. A day in the life of a touring hip hop
artist.
Scott
Wolf. I don't know what Scott Wolf was even brought up. Doesn't make much sense, but
that's the first Scott Wolf reference
right
on the show as well.
If that's
Scott Wolf and Hoobastank, we are now in new ground.
Especially if I got his name right, which I don't know if I did, but he was on Channel 5, and you know, once again, you know, just for everyone, you know, I'm such a big Nonfiction fan. I had to throw him in there, so I'm glad I got that story because it's a very good story.
That's the dude from Go.
Yes, he was in that movie.
Love that movie.
Yes.
Yeah. He was like the guy who got busted, I think.
Yeah,
underrated.
Just one last thing about Main Street that Mitch just brought up, how he was saying it was dark and everything, and it is pretty dark. But in typical Roth fashion, he manages to get a dance baby in there right before Eddie's solo.
Yeah.
All this like dark, you know, brown matter and gonna hunt somebody down and real easy to get a gun, and then he throws in a dance baby.
Yeah.
It's just typical David, you know.
I love it.
Diamond Dave.
Yes.
Well, he makes sure he's gonna get his rocks off. It doesn't matter where he is, what's happening.
Dave gonna Dave, man.
That's true. Yeah.
Dave gonna Dave, and this segues perfectly because my number 2 is also Main Streets. First, me and Brant matched up at number 6 with Little Guitars, but I match up with Mitch at number 2 here. Mean Street. Fair Warning's the first Van Halen cassette I actually owned. That intro, like Joe had said, amazing. I think Fair Warning is the most diverse Van Halen record that gives you it gives you a little bit of the party, gives you at the darkest. If you want to see the full scope of what they're capable of, I think Fair Warning's like the best. And Mean Streets, the groove is disgusting. It's ridiculous. It's so
gross. It's gross.
Dank. It's gross. Exactly, man. It's the way Alex lays it down, the way Eddie plays over it. I can't say anything more that everyone else hasn't said, but I'll share a little Dave story. If you just share that about Eddie's house, the club I used to work at, CPI, that used to book hair bands and this and that. One year we got David Lee Roth on his solo out, not with Vi and stuff like that. They weren't doing that. Maybe it's like
a little ain't enough.
I don't know. Brant was working there. Maybe that
a little ain't enough.
Yeah, little.
Yeah. So yeah. When I heard that, I was like, I wasn't even really listening to rock much. I was more into hip hop or whatever. But like when I heard Dave was going to be gracing the building, I got lit up like as a young man. I was like, told the promoter, I'm like, yo, you have to get me. I got to meet this guy. It's got to happen for my life to be like full circle. This is as close as I'm going to get. So he puts this ridiculous rider out with, not the M&Ms went in there, but like all kinds of other, like everything that they had to scour to fill up the dressing room. Wanted a case of Budweiser on the tour bus. Like, I'm bringing the case of Budweiser in there. So I bumped this other bus boy out of the way. I'm like, I'm taking that thing up there because the manager wasn't helping me out meeting him. So I went on the tour bus. I got my case of Budweiser in my hand. Guys, I put it right over there. I look over. Dave's just finished the set. Okay. He just finished the set maybe like 5 minutes afterwards, rushes right on the bus. He's already in his pajamas, like full on, like tops and bottoms matching, sitting on the couch on the bus with the cartoons on the TV, like 5 feet away from his face, eating a bowl of cereal and rocking back and forth. And I was like, I just put the beer down and I was like, I don't know. I don't think this is going to be what I want it to be.
No.
I just put the beer down and I stepped away that I got that close, but I was like, this guy's insane, man.
Eating cereal. It was like
have Janie Lane home or something after he got in a fight with Vince Neil that year too.
Jamie Lane knocked the top of my cash register off, and I had a bouncer, this guy Tony Cox, rest in peace, big skinhead dude, jack up Jamie Lane against the wall, and that dude was straight up going to shit his pants. He was going to cry. He was scared that he was going to get like murked right there.
Sometimes he cries.
Wasn't someone crying in your car that Vince Neil yelled at him or something? It was like, why does Vince have to be such a dick or something like that? Was that you?
I drove Vince Neil in my Plymouth Sundance to a hotel room with Randy Costello in the back seat listening to drum and bass mixtapes.
Yes.
That was pretty cool. I drove through the Hampton Bays praying that I would see somebody that I knew, because I'm like, Vince Neil is passed out riding shotgun in my Sundance.
Dude, that's a whole.
Nobody saw me.
That's good.
But I'll never forget.
That's it. You didn't kill anyone, so that's good.
I had that going for me.
Yeah. Was that really on the Little Ain't Enough tour? Because then you would have been.
I don't know the tour exactly. Like it I wasn't there. Sheenan wasn't there. It was.
Was it Jason Becker though?
Sometime in the mid '90s. No, not even him, man. It wasn't anybody. The band was quite competent. And Dave put on an amazing show. It was great. It was 21 songs, 18 Van Halen songs, 3 solo albums.
Wow.
He gave them what they wanted, and it was smoked. Yeah. But when it was over, he just collapsed like a house of cards to his PJs.
Eating cereal. So, all right, that brings us to our number 1. So, but before we wrap this up, just real quick, round robin, we're going to give me your favorite Van Halen record, Joe.
Like of any
of all,
just gun to my head, pick one.
Yep.
Fair Warning.
Okay. Brant.
1984.
Okay. Mitch.
Van Halen 1.
Okay. Langan.
Fair Warning.
Okay. All right. So that brings us to number 1.
F-U-C-K.
Oh, me?
Right.
I'll go. Oh, that's tough. I'll probably go 5150. But I will say my favorite Van Halen song is When It's Love. But that's like for Hagar. And my favorite Roth is Everybody Wants Them. So those are my 2 favorite songs. But so that brings us to number 1. So Joe.
Yes, number 1 has been mentioned by everybody already. But it makes my number 1. Just before I say it, we had 15 in all total. So really, the grand total, including the honorable mentions and the top 10, Dave got the edge, 8-7. But that's how just close I am, and just like loving, like a parent with 2 children, like you love them both equally.
Respect.
We didn't talk about the bastard child at all. That was Gary Sharon.
One good song, I give it to him.
Oh God!
That was the first. Going back for this show was the first time I listened to that record.
I'm sorry, bro.
And I gotta say that song "Josephina" is the worst song I've ever heard in my entire life.
It can't be. You didn't keep it on play to listen to your "How Many Say I." That is the worst song.
I don't know, man.
Give it a try.
Stiff competition.
After this is over, try it again and then get back to me.
I'm done, man. That's it. I'll never threaten play again.
Anyway, let's cleanse the palate of Chiron talk. Number one is Hot for Teacher. For everything, all the reasons that everybody mentioned before, I'm just going to point out that, yes, it is the greatest video that Van Halen has ever done. And I favored Miss Phys Ed over Miss Chemistry. I was, even though Miss Chemistry had a bikini on and Miss Phys Ed did not, I still thought she was prettier than Miss Chemistry. And then if you notice in the video, this is some more garbage if you want. When they're leaving after he says class dismissed and the little Van Halen kids are leaving the school entrance and they go into Dave's car, the little Eddie goes to give Dave a high five and the little Dave leaves him hanging.
Nice.
So you look there and he's just trying to give him a high five and he just totally leaves him there.
Leaves him
little minutia for the Hot for Teacher video.
Yes.
And then
we love minutia. Yeah,
and who could forget Van Halen's first and last choreography dancing when they all dressed in the pink tuxedos and they're doing the my head, my heart, my balls, moves. Totally classic. And not to be overlooked was the playing in that song. They're playing their asses off from Alex's beginning to Eddie's boogie woogie riff.
Totally.
His solo is just amazing. It's like 3 different types of playing. And he's walking on a library table trying not to slip on papers in the video. And he's still, if you look at his hands, I think he's pulling it off, I'm not a guitarist, but yeah. I got my pencil, give me something to write on. I mean, just so many classic quotables and, class dismissed and everything. And you're right. Any hot teacher you had from 1984 on in your life, you attributed that song to this teacher. So
absolutely,
that's my number one.
Yeah.
Kind of my head, be all end all VH song. Just so classic Van Halen.
It's just it's an amazing song. That's it. Yeah. I mean, if I would have thought of that over that probably is my favorite for sure. Great video, just classic, monumental. Brant, give me your number one.
Number one off of Van Halen 1, On Fire. Just, it's to me the sound of a band saying we're the best shit that you're ever going to hear. We're here to take over. Fuck you, Sabbath. Fuck you, Zeppelin. Fuck you, all you dinosaurs. We're young, we're hungry, and we're in your face, and you better pay attention because we're taking over. And just the way to end that album, that first album, is just
it's
shred from beginning to end, and to end with that song where it's just freaking punching you in the face, punching you in the gut. It just, I don't know, it just makes me want to freaking kill someone.
Got some mean Eddie riffs in it, man.
Yeah. Well, don't do that because we might need you for another episode.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Mitch, man, gun to head. What is the quintessential Van Halen song?
It's almost a tie for me. It's probably it'd probably be Light Up the Sky with Panama, because it's way too hard for me to really pick between the two of them. Light Up the Sky to me is just it's a speed metal song. Before speed metal songs, you have a blistering solo, you have amazing drum work from Alex, you have these really sick background vocals on it, like on the chorus. Like if you really listen to it, it's super it's super tracked out, it just sounds great. The tempo of it is just driving 120, super fast, not giving a shit about anything. It's super reckless, so for that, it's definitely proto speed metal. And Panama, which is the ultimate in atmosphere, you can't really beat it. I mean, everybody loves it, it's on their list. For me, it's probably number one just because of how sonically great it sounds.
Sonically, yeah, for sure. It got especially as a guitar player, just the precursor, just right before the chorus, those little notes. You're love that. Yeah.
For Light Up the Sky, are you guys familiar with that? Maybe in the 2000s, it came out the hair metal tribute with Piercy from Rat and
I heard about it.
Yeah, and Doc and George Lynch was on it, and they do Light Up the Sky.
I didn't see that. That's awesome. I didn't see that.
Yngwie is the guitarist.
Yeah, Yngwie did it. Yeah, is that what his words from?
Yeah, Malmsteen. So
Yeah, Billy Sheehan's on it too, right?
yeah, and I think Yngwie extended the solo bed to like
Of course.
24 bars, so he could just wail away. And I guess it's his tribute to Eddie.
You
I
could
guess.
hear his medallions jangling against his chest hair, his open blouse.
Yeah.
That's it.
So for anybody who wants to YouTube that, Light Up the Sky, if you YouTube Light Up the Sky, Yngwie Malmsteen, it's a really good version though. Yeah.
Shirts versus blouses for sure. All right, cool. So Langan, give me your number one.
Oh, just to build on Panama too, and shout out Miss Nicole one last time in the show. We had Country Day where every class picked a country in 5th grade, and we did like dodgeball and whatnot.
That's way better than what I thought.
All the other classes picked like USA and Russia. She allowed us to. We were Panama. We were there was only 4 5th grade classes, and Panama was one of them because she loved Van Halen. How cool is that?
Where is?
But anyway,
where is she?
I heard she was hanging out at Claudio's down in Greenport.
She hangs out at Legends. I see her and Mrs. Peters come in all the time.
Get out of here!
This was 2003 when I was living on Long Island. I mean, that's 18 freaking years ago.
I like to remember her as she was.
Yeah.
Yes.
But my number one, I digress. It was mentioned before, I think, by Mitch. I'm the One from Van Halen 1. That was the only easy decision I had on this list. I knew it was my favorite song. I think it's the best all-around representation as a track of what this band is capable of. It's got this amazing swing feel. It even breaks down to a doo-wop like vocal practically.
The acapella.
A 4-part acapella that's like doo-wop music. The background vocals are insane. And as a young guitar player, Eddie's fills in not even just the solo per se. The whole song, like I think Joe said, was like a solo. Was it you? Right. But the fills he plays in between the riff, the lyrics, it's ridiculous. It's what a genius this man was, and why I'm still so sad he's gone. Because like when I view the history of guitar and the timeline, there's just certain people that took the instrument on and the whole instrument became something else when they were done with it. You could look at like besides all the blues guys, the Robert Johnsons, whatever, but like Les Paul when he came along and what he did with amplification and sound, and then Jimi Hendrix dropped from the sky and totally changed the way these Claptons and Keith Richards that were doing blues stuff and reinvented the instrument. And I think after Hendrix, I think Eddie is the guy that took it to that next step that everybody wanted to play like that or try to play like that. I think I'm the One is just a perfect representation of like man capable of. And he was otherworldly. He was an alien, and we'll never see another person like him ever.
Well, I mean, here we are.
What a great way to wrap that up. That was
what a good perfect. Yeah.
I'm a professional, son.
Yeah, I feel like we were at his, I feel like we were at his funeral, and you just gave a eulogy. So thank you.
Yo, if they ever have another one, I'm available.
You have another one. So yeah, but it summed it up. Like even for someone like me who is a casual fan, like his presence, like the fact that he's gone is pretty weird. Like it was a weird thing for me. So I'm glad you guys came and hung out.
Thank you guys.
So Joe, I know you guys Outburst just did something on Walter Schreiffel's show. So could we find that?
Vans Channel 66. Actually, I'm sure Vans will release it, to the general public, but right now it's a live stream.
Okay.
So
it's not archived.
If it ever, well, I think it is archived, but if it ever comes out for public consumption, I'll put it on the band. We'll put it on the band IG, or I'm sure Wally will do it too. But,
okay, cool.
It was a lot of fun because in this age where nobody's going to live venues, to get a chance to play a short set in front of Vans has a wide ranging audience, so that was kind of nice. But
yeah, that was super cool.
It was pretty cool to do it in the time of COVID, So
and Brant, where we can go drink over at your place in Chicago and visit you? Where's that?
Yeah, so we've got 3 spots: Dry Hop Brewers, which is about a mile south of Wrigley; Corridor Brewery and Provisions, which is about a mile west of Wrigley; and then we've got one in River North called Crushed by Giants. They're all full restaurants, and come on down, have a beer with me. My dog barking in the back to try and get up on the couch. So
have you ever met Mark Grace?
I have not met Mark Grace, but Jake Arrieta goes in the corridor quite often.
Okay, just throwing it out there.
That's our Cubs and
Ryan Sandberg,
John Lester, couple of guys going. No, none of the old guys come in. I haven't met.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
And lastly,
Brent's still a Yankee guy, though, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm a Yankee fan. So.
Good.
I live near
Comiskey,
so I'm coming. The White Sox are growing on me, but yeah, still diehard Yankee fan.
Shout out to Wayne Tollison. Mitch, I know you got a record coming out with Stu again, or you're working with him. So what do you got coming up next?
Me and Stu started something recently. We we had Final Expenses. Now we're doing, I guess, I don't want to say a part 2, but it's a second installment. Me and Q-Unique, we just finished. That should be out fairly soon. Staying busy, just staying busy.
You got 2 songs on the new Vinny Paz that comes out April 23rd. I can't wait for that. I know you and Crime.
No doubt. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, he's always surprising me. He's always constantly putting out stuff all the time. So I haven't heard the finished mixes, but I'm pretty sure, pretty heavy.
I'm sure. Cool, man. So, hey, guys, this was a long episode, so hopefully Van Halen fans will get a kick out of it. Thank you guys for doing it, and I'll see you all soon.
Peace.
Thanks, everybody.
Guys. That was awesome.
Later.
Yes.
Dark